Good evening and welcome to the Chris Salcedo Show here on Newsmax TV. The Socialist Democrats' border crises continue unabated while Joe Biden heads off to Europe and Kamala Harris spends her time in the Northern Triangle countries. Now, this is typical of a political ideology and of people who put America last. The multiple crises created by the left-wing party are definite proof to the American people. It's the Harris-Biden amateur hour, a focus on liberal incompetence in tonight's preamble. While visiting the Northern Triangle countries in Mexico, Kamala Harris, the border czar, sat down with NBC host Lester Holt. Now, we used to refer to Lester Holt as a news anchor until he said this.
I think it's become clearer that fairness is overrated. Well, before you run off and tweet that headline, let me explain a bit. The idea that we should always give two sides equal weight and merit does not reflect the world we find ourselves in.
No real journalist makes excuses to be unfair. No real journalist makes him or herself the arbiter of what is acceptable and what is not. Remember, it was people like Lester Holt who said the lab leak theory in Wuhan was a conspiracy theory. Real journalists present both sides and let the folks decide. Mr. Holt has abandoned basic and fundamental fairness. Thus, he's just another liberal opinion host. Here's Mr. Holt assuring Kamala Harris that he's not asking to get to the truth about the border because NBC viewers should know, but only because those pesky Republicans are beating up Harris over her inadequate response to the border.
Okay. Do you have any plans to visit the border?
At some point, we are going to the border. We've been to the border. So this whole thing about the border, we've been to the border. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe. And I mean, I don't understand the point that you're making. I'm not discounting the importance of the border.
Well, I mentioned it because I know Republicans have certainly come at you on this.
Okay, see? Lester wanted the VP of his favorite party to know it's the Republicans' fault that he was pressing her on the border. But what about Harris's answer? In response to a question as to why she hasn't been to the border, Kamala Harris says she hasn't been to Europe either. Look, folks, I have never underestimated the ability of socialist Democrats to screw up our country and the world. But to my knowledge, we don't have multiple crises surrounding illegal immigration from Europe. We do have multiple crises caused by the Harris-Biden administration on the border with Mexico. I think we may have discovered why Harris and Biden are so flummoxed by the border crises they created. They think they were elected to run the world. Case in point, Harris's answer to this question in Guatemala.
See both the front end and the back end. Why not go to the border as well so that you do see the full complexity?
Listen, I've been to the border before. I will go again. But when I'm in Guatemala, dealing with root causes, I think we should have a conversation about what's going on in Guatemala.
They're so cute at that age. I think it's wonderful that VP Harris wants to fix Guatemala. There's only one problem. She's the vice president of the United States. Why is she wanting to focus on helping foreign countries with their problems after she and Joe broke America's border and sponsored myriad problems here at home in America? I think the woman is genuinely confused about her job. No wonder her own state of California didn't want her as president. It isn't just Kamala, by the way, who's confused about her job. Maybe it's an affliction that impacts all left-wingers. Here's Jen Psaki, not seeming to know what her job is as White House press secretary. You know, it's not that complicated, Jen. Reporters ask you a question and you answer the reporter's questions.
Describe, though, you said she might go to the border. She described a trip to the border yesterday as a grand gesture. Why?
Look, Peter, again, I think her focus of this trip is on meeting with leaders, having a discussion about how to address corruption, how to address the root causes, how to work together to address humanitarian challenges in these countries. That's exactly what she's doing on the ground.
Yes. But why did maybe I got to go slow for Jen Psaki. Why did VP Harris call visiting the border a grand gesture? Jen Psaki, You are her spokesperson. Why can't you answer for the American people as to why the vice president would make such an absurd and vacuous statement, a statement worthy of AOC? Perhaps the answer is too uncomfortable for Jen Psaki to convey, or perhaps Jen Psaki lacks the intelligence to understand the question. Either way, this level of incompetence at the highest levels of our government should be distressing to all Americans. But the reason why Biden and Harris won't visit the American border with Mexico, it might be best explained by Texas Senator Ted Cruz, a senator whose state is being harmed by the Harris-Biden open border policies.
I found it curious that Kamala in that press conference said we're enforcing our laws when they're not. They're letting people go. It's a giant turnstile where they're letting them go. You're just showing now footage of the wall. There's a reason Kamala Harris doesn't want to go to the border. There's a reason Joe Biden doesn't want to go to the border. Because they know that if they go, the reporters will follow them. The TV cameras will follow them. Their strategy is simple. It's try to cover this up.
And if Lester Holt is any indication, the press is pleased as punch that Harris and Biden are not going to the border to draw attention to the first of many of their screw-ups. This nation is being run by a bunch of emotional people who never grew up. They are unified by one overarching principle: foreigners first and America last. If we had a press that was even modestly mature, even half inclined to do their jobs, America would be able to see the level of hatred for America and the level of inexperience that socialist Democrats bring to all levels of government. Sadly, the press is populated with those who are just as bad at their jobs as Harris and Biden are at theirs. The solution to the buffoonish press is easy: the Chris Salcedo Show on Newsmax TV. Now, finding a competent alternative to the socialist Democrats, that's proving to be a harder lift.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.